am delighted to be joined by Lillian today, who's together with myself and Lynda. We're going to be asking some really interesting questions about innovating, about leadership, and about working with patients. So Lillian, it's an absolute pleasure. I like to ask those who are working with patients about their leadership style, because of course they are having to stand up for the patient opinion. And of course, the style affects in many ways how we work with patients. So Lillian, how would you describe your leadership style?
I aspire to, I think my leadership style, probably I need to ask my peers, but I'm aspire to people who are servant leader, who want to be here to serve and then really help to connect the dots and bring the best out of the team. I like to work with people that we have the common value and it's driven by a purpose so that we all work above and beyond to get to that path that we want to reach and having that sustainable impact.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Certainly something I try to live up to as well. At RxPX, we sometimes call me the bus driver because I've got the people on the bus and I feel very responsible for them, but also for our destination.
Fantastic. I also want, and Lillian, I think of you as someone who's not afraid of innovating and bringing in technology, even where possible. We all know there's data at our disposal, there's increasing transparency and almost overwhelming amounts of information in our world. So I'm just really curious as to whether or not that's an opportunity for you and how you might be using technology or want to use technology in working with patients and making a change in patient outcomes.
We definitely leverage technology. I think technology is quite broad with the definition. Even searching on Google and to get help is actually leveraging technology and connecting patients and even to like telehealth. So I do see a tremendous opportunity in the area that I'm working on right now. We have been doing a simple diagnostic solutions, but getting help with the technology. When we integrate technology with the simple solutions, we see much higher efficiency. More patients get help, and it's also in a way saving cost. So we are able to reach patients in a more remote area and really having a higher impact. So I do foresee that we would leverage technology more going forward.
Let me just double click on the efficiency side of things, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you mean. Can you give me any kind of an example or possibility that is more specific that just helps me understand?
Yeah. So, for example, when we use a technology, an AI algorithm, to find out who are the patients who are at high risk of certain rare diseases. In the past, without the AI tool, we still do the screening. We still work with the physicians to find out who are the patients who may be at risk of the disease and do the testing. But with the AI algorithm, we were able to find to double the hit rate. So less number of tests, but we were able to help more patients to find the diagnosis earlier. And I think in the rare disease area, you often hear that patients take 10 years, 15 years to find a diagnosis is not uncommon. But we were able to see that using technology, we were able to find the patients from starting to search to ultimately getting telehealth support and finding access to the specialist in days rather than in years.
Yeah, it's so interesting because technology, one of the jobs it does very best is scale, right? In ways that we can't scale as humans. And I think this has a tremendous opportunity for patients and for doctors as we look at how AI is being used in the personalization. I think we're kind of entering an era of personalized technology. And I hope, especially so in terms of digital health, where we can really, to your point, Lillian, look at what does that patient need? Where are they? What does that doctor need? And where are they? How do we use technology more efficiently, faster, at scale, but in a personalized way? Our history of technology has been sort of one model applies to all. And I think with some of the more recent developments and the work that we're doing, we really have that opportunity to personalize the experience. And so I'm very excited about that.
Yep, likewise. we do see the patient journey is a continuum. If we have one tool, if it's not linked to the next, like from understanding the diseases or getting suspicious of a certain disease, and if you don't link to the diagnostic tool or test, then the patients won't be able to get access. So I think our job here is how can we connect the dots for the patients and where possible. So the company tends to do things. We have the disease awareness campaign, and then we have another department with diagnosis, and obviously we have treatment and adherence support. But I think the ideal world will be really connecting the dots so that there's a more seamless patient experience. And in terms of legal and compliance, this is very important, right? Like we need to do things right. We need to also make sure that we protect the patients, the data privacy. That is kind of like where we started with to establish trust with the patients to co-create. But different countries may have different rules, and sometimes the law may not actually encompass what we're doing with AI. So the interpretation of the regulations or the guidance may vary. So it takes a long time for the team to align and actually overcome those barriers.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing that. Okay. I want to ask a question about entrepreneurship. Lillian, I regard you as being quite an entrepreneurial person, if I can, twist the word a little bit. What makes your entrepreneur life harder or easier?
I do like the word entrepreneur. I do think that, I personally like to do things that people have never done it before. I think that makes it more interesting. What makes it easier is when you set your goal clear, when the problem is clearly defined, and the team that we work together are aligned. We often need to work with the cross-functional team, so we take more time in the upfront to understand the problem, what we try to solve. When everybody have that sense of understanding and commitment, I think that makes things easier. I think the challenges is always when you do it first, then you will always get a lot of questions asked. And also, I think the challenge is also to see how we scale. We often do a lot of pilot, but to scale, to adapt to different healthcare system is still a challenge.
I think entrepreneurs are very good at connecting those dots, and exactly what Lillian is talking about is seeing the connections and the need for integrations and working holistically. So entrepreneurs have a very I think special role to play within organizations, and pushing for that change that we want to see. They also have allies and partners in us entrepreneurs who very much not only understand what they're trying to do, but have great empathy for it, because it's often much harder to innovate within an organization than it is to innovate outside of an organization. And so I always feel great empathy for when we're working with our partners and customers, because what they're trying to do internally is really hard. And they're not only trying to innovate, but they're trying to innovate within a consensus-based environment, and one in which connects the dots. And that's a really special role.
I think you make an excellent point there, Lynda. I often find myself latching on to the more entrepreneurial people within pharma, probably exactly as you say, because of being an entrepreneur myself. You can appreciate the same pressures, mindset, and sort of belief that you have to do whatever it takes to get to the solution, of course. And sometimes that can be a difficult journey, as you said. Lillian, if you could wave a magic wand and change any particular regulation or rule that we have to abide by in pharma, what would it be?
Much more easier information sharing across border.
Across borders, across national borders, kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, MLR and enabling us to share more information with patients in a way that's meaningful and transparent to them.
Okay. Perfect. So Lillian, what's the one thing that pharma companies should stop doing in 2025?
Should stop doing. Having dialogue with patients, but without follow-up. I think when we do something, co-creation, it should have regular conversation with the same the community, not just a one-off engagement, but it's a continuum.
That was such a good answer.
That's such a good point, right? The notion of reciprocity, or what's called reciprocal research, right, or
Mm.
action-based research, so important. Thank you for raising that. Yeah.
And one final question. If you had to pick an industry outside of pharma that we should maybe listen to a bit more, maybe get inspired by, what do you think it would be?
I have one. I volunteered at the Serious Fund Camp before. This is an organization, it's a foundation who provide a safe environment for children who have a chronic disease, who have a safe environment to be like a kids who can enjoy all different fun activities. The activities are really organized by a small group of employees, but a bunch of volunteers. But when I was with them, I realized this is actually how servant leadership kind of come into life. People, we all go to have a goal to make it fun for the campers, and we all divide and conquer, and there's no like very clear job description. But at the end of the camp, I feel like we really achieve our goal, but we all just have one clear objective of making the campers safe and happy and fun and be silly. But I think with all the issues that come along the way or challenges, we just solved it. I think it's just a beautiful way of how people come together, not knowing each other, but could accomplish the goal beautifully.
Amazing.
I want the regulations to enable more partnership, an easier partnership among the patients, the healthcare providers, the payers, and the pharmaceutical industry. There shouldn't be any barrier. I think if we can align on intention to benefit for the patient community, the regulations are now more collaboration.
And you spoke about how you have a real underlying impatience and you are a little frustrated with the slow moving and conservative nature of our industry in so many ways. And I think you were quite excited about being with some people that could catalyze and evolve our industry a bit more quickly. Can you just give me a couple of sentences on where your frustration is on this point?
I do want to see a lot more sense of urgency when we try to do patient engagement or like co-creation with patients or solutions when we want to scale. I feel like we often have a number of different parties and we have a very big group of key stakeholders that we need to align before we do something, but that actually slow things down. So I would rather that we align on fewer parties, but we can actually come together and have a quicker alignment, and identify the problem that we want to solve, and then home in on that, and then go to the next one. I think that's kind of where, like, I want to see change.
I would completely echo that. A sense of urgency. Patients, doctors need our work, need our solutions urgently. They're battling with us every day, and we have a lot of things that we know work, and we just need to start implementing them faster, measuring them, adapting, but getting those tools and supports into HCPs and patients.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lillian.